Well, joining me now live in our Lagos studio to discuss this development and much more, I have the co-founder of Budget, Joseph Agumbiade. Good to have you on the breakfast show this morning.
Thank you, Dan.
Now, according to the NIMC order of 2007, which has been neglected for years, not having your NIN is a criminal offense, which is punishable by some level of imprisonment. But it seemed like we had earlier played pundit in terms of our prediction, looking at whether or not we would see the integration of the NIN becoming the sole identity number for every single Nigerian. Do this comparison with BVN and just the development upon development unfolding up until we've gotten here with the NIN discussion.
Yeah, so first is that part of the law that stated that it's a criminal offense not to have an NIN. So the question would be, at what point? Will that law be implemented to say it's a criminal offense? That is one thing. And if you look at what NIN is supposed to be, it's supposed to become a kind of social security number. So would you say in America, if you don't have social security number, would you go to jail or something? So it's a form that hopefully that will be reviewed. You can't say criminal offense. Maybe you can say people will not be able to access public services without it. I mean, if you want to open a bank account, if you're an American citizen, you are required to provide your social security number, but of course, foreigners even go there and still open an account with your passport. And so I don't think it's such a big deal, as the way it sounded, in terms of the law. But when you do the comparison with BVN, I give an analogy, and the analogy is that, it's like a couple, husband and wife. When the man refused to step up to his responsibility of providing for the family, and the wife decided to go for an interview, aced and got a job, and decided to start providing for the family, then after a while, the man just wake up one morning and scream that, I'm the husband in this house. I'm the one that, must provide for the house. And that's the situation of BVN versus NIN. Definitely NIN is like the husband, is the main provider, it should be our sort of social security number eventually, or it will become, But as of now, what infrastructure do they have on ground? So I did a little bit of research, and I was looking at how many can they register per time from a center. And it turned out that it's very low number, extremely low. And it turned out that the infrastructure that they have doesn't have the capacity to actually handle the whole of Nigeria. So,
if you may share with us exact figures.
Well, let me not be too, I don't want to give a number that, yes, so I want to play safe there. But it's interesting to know that NIN is not well funded, and so when you make such an assertion that you have to, it will replace BVN, you have to understand why BVN was established in the first place. I think NIN is going to be like a social security number. BVN is for the banks. It's for financial services
and transactions.
And so when NIN is ready, it's going to, definitely the banks will start accepting it. But BVN came in, into action to save us from fraud, from, all of the issues, the vices we had. There were a lot of, till date we still have a lot of fraud. But you agree with me that BVN has actually solved that problem to a large extent.
So then the question is now, when we now have all Nigerians having the national identity number, then for your transactions, the whole hurdle of having to get your BVN a whole lot more, what does this then translate to?
So for me, I'm not looking at it that way. I'll tell you why. BVN is for banks. And when you look at the number of banks... No, but now the NIN is mandatory for opening a bank account. Yeah, but I just want to run the comparison to show you that NIN will actually cover... I want to show actually how powerful NIN is.
The coverage.
The coverage will be both the banked and the unbanked. The banks are definitely sort of like, if you're not coming to a bank account, we're not going to waste our time on you. So NIN definitely will have more coverage and it's become more useful.
Do you think we are going in a cyclical manner and not necessarily having a clear sense of direction when it comes to our data collection initiatives? Because first and foremost, we've had instances of voter registration where it's quite a hurdle to even get registered. I still don't have my my voter's card. There are a whole lot more issues. We look at what's the name? The national identity card as well. People have registered 2014, 2013, and still this is 2021, 7 years after, the cards are not yet ready. You go through those hurdles, and once again, we have to go through the NIN hurdle. Do you think we have learned any lessons from that and then improve on our data collection measures? Because it's likely we'll see another extension based on the fact that we've seen from one extension to another, and the infrastructure, the data collection measures, the initiatives still remain the same.
Absolutely. In fact, if you can recall, the first time I actually attempted to register was 2003.
Wow.
National identity, yes. So it's been a long-time journey. But
mine was in 2015, and I still don't have my card.
Yeah. So, but the first time the conversation I had, this administration was 2003, way back, I can recall. So the challenge is that in the short term, it looks like that, we're just around the top, just moving around. But the truth is, looking at this administration, or especially the drive, if the person who will take over from Patami when he eventually leaves has similar drive, it might be something that in the long term might become, a successful game plan. But right now in the short term, it looks like that, we don't have a sense of direction. But I think in the first place, the minister shouldn't have said he's going to be replacing BVN. It's a conversation that should happen later, not now. Because now, all over social media, I see people are really angry. Like, why are they saying, why did they allow me to, go do BV and go through all of that stress? Then all of a sudden you're announcing. So it looks as if they are not organized. And the truth is that, we might be looking at BVN as something that decision that the banks reached. But it's actually CBN. And the act that established CBN in 1958 actually allows them to create such a thing as BVN.
Yes, you have to know your customers. You have to know which Nigerian is patronizing what service.
So I think the government needs to know that as an entity, CBN is government. They are part of government. So they always need to put their house in order. Anytime there's a new policy, look at any of such institutions, similar institutions that have worked on similar stuff before, and, have some sort of synergy. In fact, the point that BVN, they are struggling with NIM. They should have talked to BVN guys. Look how easy it was for them. So I think generally, in the short term, it looks as if they don't know what they are doing. But if they continue at this pace, and then they are funded, then I believe that long term it will become something that we'll all be happy about.
Exactly. It's going to be a long-term commendable effort. But looking at the pace at which the registration is going, there's still little successes here and there, which is fair enough, but we have to just deal with those challenges that have to do with the registration and synchronization of all of this data. But this now brings me to the next line of conversation, looking at how we still collect data in terms of developmental agenda, in terms of setting our policies right, knowing who and who form your populace. We've not had a population census. This is well over a decade as well. Do you think all of these issues we are having now erupts conversations that will now help us go through the hurdle of having the next population census, or do you think we'll still have that blind spot of not knowing when that will come next?
I think it's a little bit of risk to even try to spend money on. I think we should take that money and divert it to NIN instead of trying to do a population census, because historically you've seen that there's always there's a lot of fraud. People from certain part of the country trying to inflate numbers and all that. And now if more people want to do that, at the end of the day, we don't really have the real number. I've heard that many times, that are we actually 200 million? In terms of our population size. There are a lot of projections. These are projections year in, year out. So I would say that let's focus on NIN. Let's have 3, 5, 10 years plan to get every single Nigerian to have that national identity. With that, it becomes a lot easier to do electronic census, to do voters registration, and all of the things that actually requires the identity of the citizen. So I would rather say that let's not spend so much money, because MPC, I don't know whether they are unable to lobby the governments to do anything, but MPC has not been doing anything. National Population Commission, and every year there's a budget that goes to that ministry or agency. So I wouldn't say we should spend so much money trying to do, because what is the mechanism they're going to use to actually do that population thing without a proper identity? So a lot of things are going to lean on NIN long term, but we shouldn't be in a hurry. Like they say, it's not a marathon, it's a sprint.
And then we just have to keep the conversation and ensuring that we have this registration as a continuous process.
Absolutely.
There's no economy anywhere around the world where the identification number of an individual is on a stop or start situation. It's just it's continuum. It's an ongoing process, and then we just have to ensure that we improve on our infrastructure, improve on our data collection. improve on our agenda as a whole in terms of development, because having your NIN is also supposed to help government also plan better for you.
Definitely.
So we'd like to see that actualized. Thank you very much for your time at the Breakfast Show today.
Thanks a lot.
Joseph
Appreciate it.
Agubiade. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.